Hello. 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 I kind of feel like I want to have a color in the background of this episode for no reason, honestly. I've been messing around with my hair for like the past 5 minutes and honestly, whatever. Welcome back to another episode of the CQ. I'm your host, CourtneyQuarantine. I'm a full-time content creator, variety streamer, makeup artist, and today I'm going to be talking about some stuff for the podcast episode. So welcome in, buckle up. I hope you have a snack. I hope you have a drink. I hope you have maybe some water. Maybe you're the type of person that has like 3 beverages at once. One for flavor, one for hydration, and one for caffeine. If you have a comfort water bottle, an emotional support water bottle, I see you, bestie. But either way, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to talk about the things that I want to talk about for today's episode of the podcast. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you here. That is where I'm putting these episodes, or if you're just listening, if you're watching, whatever it is that you're doing at the same time, or maybe you're locked in and you're intently watching. I don't know, but thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot. If you want to check out any of my other content, any of my other work, any of my collections that I have currently out with Mob Beauty, please check the description. All of that will be linked there. Or if you want to just go on like Mob Beauty's website, you can see my tab under community. It will say Mob X CourtneyQuarantine or like Mob X Courtney. So it says my name. It's me. Woo! But anyway, let's get into it because I feel very passionate about this today. I am a bit more casual today because honestly, I can't be bothered to change. So hope you like the casual vibes. And if you don't, that's your problem, not mine. Alrighty. I feel very passionately about this particular topic, and I hope that it makes sense as I'm saying it, and I'm going to try to be clear as I'm describing this kind of feeling. I am really obsessed with people who are obsessed with themselves. Now, let me be clear when I say this. I mean someone who is so into whatever it is that they're doing, someone who is so confident and has so much love in their heart for themselves that it is like alluring. There's something about that. I don't know if that is something about like my star sign or something, or really wanting to like champion people's like crafts and things that they love. I don't know what that is, but I want to talk about this because it's such a strong, overwhelming feeling that I have sometimes that it is like, oh, let me explain. When I see someone who is really obsessed with like their craft or something it is that they're doing, or like maybe they're really into a very niche, obscure kind of thing, but they take up space with it. They are unapologetically just in love with whatever that it is, including themselves. And I think sometimes when I say this, it comes off as like a people who are like self-centered or like egotistical in a way. Egotistical, is that the correct word? Or like narcissistic. That's not what I mean. That is absolutely not what I mean. I mean in such a positive, wonderful, beautiful way that I used to look at as toxic. Again, allow me to explain further. I think that growing up, honestly, mostly until recently, I thought if I was like too confident or too this or too whatever, that it was self-centered, narcissistic, and like gross of me to be like, you know, obsessed with myself or like think that like I looked hot or like anything like that. And I felt a lot of like guilt and shame for that for a very, very long time. I mean, and there are still days, don't get me wrong, there are still days that I'm like, okay, that's a bit much. But I would argue that that's not like a true, accurate voice or representation of how I actually feel, because I'm at a point now in my life where if I don't love like my makeup, for example, I think makeup is a good example to use for this, but you can dive a lot deeper with this. But let's say I do my makeup for the day, and every day I do my makeup, I love how it looks. Every single day I do my makeup, I love how it looks, unless I follow something that isn't like this idea that I've had, or that I try to follow a trend that feels forced and I don't feel inspired by it. We've talked about this many a time. I've mentioned that before. Hugely, bigly a fan of following what you're feeling with your makeup. Maybe it's dreams, maybe it's imagery, maybe it's something random that you saw outside. Who knows? But I genuinely will look in the mirror now and be like, oh my God, this looks hot. This looks so hot. And I will say that I have noticed when I watch other people, whether it be creators, friends, mutuals, celebrities on TV or doing a reality thing, whatever. That's a little more like, don't know if that's scripted, whatever. But like when I watch fellow friends of mine, and then like seemingly what I kind of feel like are coworkers in the creative space, really love something that they're into, something that they're wearing, a new accessory that they have, whatever it is, and they're like, I look so good. I love that. I absolutely adore that. And I think I used to be like, oh my God, I love people who are vain because they don't care if they look stupid or silly or whatever to other people, because that's other people's perception. And I know we've probably all heard the like saying of what other people think of me is none of my business, but it's truly something that I've incorporated into my life in a really, really big way that has helped me be online, because people have opinions about literally everything. It's crazy. But truly, if someone comes in and says something really awful or really horrible to me or DMs it to me or whatever, their idea of me has nothing to do with me. And same with you. If someone has something to say about an outfit that you're wearing or makeup that you're wearing, or if you've been surrounded by family or friends or what have you, coworkers, the general public that thinks like, oh, you're wearing too much makeup, or any of those stupid, shitty ideas, that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. And it's mostly because they're miserable. Now, before going too far down that road and talking about that, because that gets a little negative, I want to revert back to how exciting it is to hear someone talk about how they love themselves. To hear someone be like, I look so hot. Oh my God, literally, period. To hear my friends, or to get pictures from my friends or little videos from my friends being like, I feel fucking sexy. Literally slay. Literally, ooh, it makes me so excited. And like when people are really obsessed with a certain thing and they let it like, I'll give you an example. I was over at my friend's house some time ago, and you know what? I'm actually going to call them out right now. And they're wonderful, lovely individuals. Abby and Hector have become friends of mine. They are so lovely, and I was able to just enjoy some time with them. And hello, also, Abby and Hector, if you're watching this, hello. You are wonderful people. Thank you so much for just offering your friendship, and just, I could cry. Actually, I could cry thinking about it. They're such talented, smart, creative, funny people. Oh my God, it was a pleasure to be in their presence. But at one point, I remember like any time that they've shown me something that they like collect or love, or maybe I'll use Hector for an example specifically too. Like this is a series of like comic books, or this is a series of certain kind of like graphic novel that I've been collecting, and it's very important to me. And you can see people change how they speak about it, right? You can see people light up. You can see it in their eyes. And there is something about that that makes me feel like magic. It could be something that I'm not interested in, and not in a like negative way, not in a like I don't care about that, but like that's not something that I collect. That's not something that I, engage with, so to speak, to a certain degree. But like watching them, oh my God, tell me everything. I actually want to know I would love to become an expert about this in the next 60 seconds so that I can talk from a more educated standpoint from your favorite material to you, with you. I want to be able to share that with you because it's so delightful. It's contagious when people really love something and they just let themselves be really, really into it. And that's like the twofold of like obsessed with themselves and obsessed with their craft. And together, it's like there's so much love in that feels, I wish there were more words to describe it other than like love and these passions and these creative outlets and stuff. But there's so much that this can kind of encompass. I think when you are into something and when you really let it be a part of yourself, really wonderful things can happen. I'll tell you a little bit of a side note before I go into another thing really quickly, but recently I was at the airport and it was an early time. Like, I can't remember, it was like 7 or 8 or something in the morning. It was early. It wasn't like, a red eye early, because Jesus Christ. So I was walking through the airport and I saw this woman, and she was just walking along, having her, doing her thing. As she got closer, I was like, holy shit. She had the biggest wing eyeliner that I've ever seen on an airport, like, staff individual in my whole life. And it was perfect. It was so exquisite. I almost started screaming and yelling at the top of my lungs, being like, please, individual, please, may I know how you do that? I don't know what I was going to do, but I felt something deep in my soul, dude. She walked past, she was walking, I think if I had to guess, she's quite a bit older, just from, this is also just from an actual like human standpoint. I'm not trying to like call someone who's 24 old because of social media and the rotting of the brains that has happened with that. That's not it. I'm talking about like actual human age. This woman was quite a bit older, and the way she had mapped out her liner to perfectly, like I literally was staring at her. I hope I didn't look insane, but like when she walked by and she looked down and she blinked and stuff, the way that like this eyeliner was modeled and perfectly set amongst her skin, and any kind of wrinkle or like crevice or fold. It was such craftsmanship. It was so delightful. It was so perfect. It was so sharp. It was so black. It was so crisp. And it was not like a little line. It was like a line that came up, and it was a wing, dude. And I was like, and immediately to KJ, I was like, did you just see that person's liner? Because it was so good. And you know what? I just felt like in my soul, and maybe this is just me projecting, but I felt like in my soul that she knew that she knew that she was absolutely slaying with that liner. And that was her thing. It felt like such a, you have probably done that liner a million times in your life. If not, crazy. The skill on that was wild. I have seen so many people wear makeup, try on makeup, do their makeup for literally my entire life. So when I see that kind of art out and about, it stops me in my tracks. It like, I literally nearly fainted because I was like, oh, that is so delightful. That's so beautiful. I love that so much. And one of the things I really love too, when people are out, let's say, I'll use another hypothetical. When I've been out and about and someone's wearing like a navy lip, let's say. I love a blue lip. I love a blue lip product, okay? But if I go out and I see someone and they're wearing like a really dark shade or something very bold, but it's bold in the way that feels like more like alternative or more kind of like my style. I try to, if I can, if the person feels like it's a comfy enough surrounding, I'm not just gonna like randomly go up to people and start bothering people, but if it feels approachable enough to do so, I try my best to be like, oh my God, I love your lipstick. Or like if they have spoken to me, or if it's like a, you know, I'm checking out somewhere and the person's wearing like a fantastic fucking lip, I'm gonna tell them. And times like that, more often than not, when I've been like, oh my God, I love your lipstick, either that's a lipstick that someone has worn for I don't know how many years and it's like their thing, or they're like, oh my God, I've never worn this before. Thank you so much. I was feeling a little weird about it. Bestie, oh my God, you look like you made that color. You look like you have made that color, like it was designed to be worn by you. Now, I try to be a little chill because I don't want to be a freak to these people immediately at the gates. And again, they're strangers and you have to respect people's boundaries and like, you know, just their space. And I don't want to be like, oh my God, because that's a bit much. Like, that's a bit much. I don't like when people get too in my business. So I would imagine other people don't anyway. Like, that, you know what I mean? But if there is a like mutual kind of open vibe, I love being like, holy, I love that. You look fantastic. That lip is wow, bravo. Because I think people who really love the things that they love, there's just something so magical about it. There really, really is. I love it so much. I see it with fellow creatives. I see it. I mean, I'm trying to think of other examples specifically too. Miss Megan, an online friend of mine who really like, I remember the first couple of videos that I watched on her YouTube. I know that I feel like I shout Miss Megan out all the time. Sorry if it's annoying, but also this is the reality. But like in one of her videos, she was like, I literally look so hot. I look so sexy. I look so good. And I was like, yes, bitch, you do. And there's something about that it's so empowering, because I feel like if you were someone that has maybe struggled with your confidence or been insecure or like just had kind of issues with that, or your self-image, or you're feeling that now, it's important to see people do that in a very normal way, like in a very like real normal way. Because I think the more that people do that, the more that people accept themselves and like they don't just try to immediately like defend a compliment or like stuff like that, which that's a whole other thing. The more, I hate to use the word normal and like to normalize it, that those terms are kind of like, okay, we get it. But like the more normal it makes it, the more acceptable it is to just kind of say that, even if like, even on days where I'm like, I don't really feel that hot, but I am. You know what I mean? But I am. I think as humans, oftentimes, if you can relate to the self-hatred, and I think I used to think that everybody went through this, turns out it's not true, but I used to think that everybody hated themselves so intensely, like to such a degree that I did. Turns out that's not normal. Is it something I talked about with my therapist? Yes. Is it something that I work on? Yeah. But now I think realizing that a lot of those influences of those thoughts were not me, had nothing to do with me, were not me, and it didn't matter. Really, really, it just opened my eyes to realize that like, oh my God, self-love doesn't have to be cheesy and corny. Self-love doesn't have to be like reading a book in a bubble bath. Hey, if you do that, that's totally fine. That's your thing. Cool. But like, I thought these ideas of like self-care, my version of self-care is completely different. It's so very different. You know what I'm saying? Like, my self-care can evolve, can change, and the things that I do for soothing or for self-confidence, it has been a journey for me. And if it's also been a journey for you too, you're not alone. But the thing that I have noticed that has been a pattern throughout my entire life, I can remember seeing individuals in the mall, like specifically like older women and femme presenting people in public, watching their confidence, watching them carry themselves in a way that felt so unstoppable and strong without feeling like it was mean or condescending or negative and like bad. There's a category of that. It feels like golden ambery kind of energy. I don't know. I truly don't know how to like place that. But I can remember being very small and like, even if it was just like a random passerby, there are people that I've thought about even too that maybe I thought that they dressed well. And I know that fashion and your style is subjective and it is very individual and stuff like this too. But there would be certain times where I would see particularly, and I would say probably 100% of the time, more alternatively dressed human beings, because that's the style that I like. I like more of a like gothic undertone to clothes and a more alternative leaning style just across the board. Anything that was a bit darker, a bit moodier, a bit more, again, I kind of say this a lot, but more like vampire leaning, especially when I was smaller and like cartoons and being shown like, I'm trying to think of like Van Helsing. The fashion in Van Helsing, oh my God, did my little brain, ooh, sparkles electricity, dude. But when I would be out in public and I would see these seemingly strong people, now whether they were or they weren't is not up to me, but like it really kind of helped shape my mind. But when I saw these kinds of people in shows or movies or something, I realized that I was really drawn to these stronger character types. Hilariously, I feel like sometimes it would be like the well-dressed villain who was just like really confident, but I was like, if you could take the villainry and maybe a little bit of the evil away, but sometimes were they really evil or was it just to display a certain, I don't know. Anyway, we can unpack that later. But like, it's interesting to me to see the people who feel like idols. Now, idolizing people is a slippery slope, and I think that's a very dangerous thing to do. I think you can have respect and a kind of admiration for people without idolizing in like a kind of a sickly way. I think, again, that's kind of a whole other like can of worms, but I realized that these people that I look up to, or these people and these characters that I looked up to, really loved what they loved. Like really, really were in what they were in. Now, I'm going to relate this to myself because a light bulb kind of went off because I was watching someone recently on TikTok, and I will have to find their name or find the video or something. And honestly, with the ban going on, I need to find it like right now, but I watched their video and they had a video pop off and they were unpacking an old trunk of MAC cosmetics. Now, I have used MAC very sparingly in the past because they are no longer cruelty free. They were at one point, but it's one of the brands that have kind of been around for a very long time. Basically, what I'm saying is you also can't find like that kind of a historical catalog with a lot of brands because a lot of brands don't last that long, if I'm being honest. So anywho, this person was kind of unpacking these old things. I love vintage makeup. I think it's fantastic. I think anyone who loves makeup has a vintage like makeup like stint or like real big obsession. There's no way to be so in love with makeup without loving the history of makeup, I think. I think you can ask anyone who really loves makeup. There is something in history, or maybe they haven't yet, and maybe they haven't gotten obsessed with old makeup or like the old packaging or anything like that, but it's usually there. And it usually either comes and goes or there's some kind of underlying tone with it, and I think it's really cool. But this person was kind of unpacking it, and their video really popped off, and the comments were going crazy. And I noticed that because I was curious, I went to their page, and I was like, do they post any other makeup stuff? And I don't think they had posted much other makeup content, but after that post, the excitement, the absolute beaming lights that I feel like were just radiating from them was crazy, because I felt like it had given them an excuse to talk about something that they really loved. And I'll be so honest, sometimes people really just want a moment to talk about stuff that they really, really love. And I, for one, am one of those people. I didn't realize it until after I had like watched a couple of this person's videos, and I was like, wow, like this is so cool to see them light up like this and talk about their old makeup and like talk about this thing that they love. And I love that with people. And again, back to me being like, another person who really loves the thing that they love. I love it. I love to see it. But then I realized that I was like, oh, that's very me. Like that's very me coded. Yeah. Because I remember, I don't know how many years ago now, I'll have to double check, the first time one of my videos went viral, I was so excited to keep talking about makeup. And I want to really stress this because not that I really owe anyone an explanation or that anyone would maybe care to know this, but I think a lot of times people get excited about being viral for like whatever they think is going to come after that, whether it be fame or exposure or what have you. I have to be so honest. And now with the ban, like I kind of want to tell you a bunch of things. I want to tell you so many things because TikTok is going away and there are some things that I regret not talking about. I really do. And instead of living with that regret and feeling that regret, I'm just going to move forward and talk about things and not have that regret anymore. Does that make sense? So when this happened, I wasn't really surrounded by a lot of people who loved makeup like I did, who got excited like how I did. Actually, I would argue that nobody was the way that I was. I didn't have a friend nearby. I wasn't, like living with people that really felt that way. And so all of my surrounding circles, it was just like I felt isolated. I felt alone. And the way that I went from making beauty content for so many years on varying platforms, on multiple accounts for years and years and years, I think it kind of gave a spark. And then each time after that, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know how many videos that I have that hit over 1 million or got to a viral kind of standing point because, and I mean this, that's cool. Sure, that's cool. Yep, that's a fun thing that happens. What really brought me so much joy was that it felt like it opened the door for me to take up space with stuff that I loved. But here's the thing that I want to kind of say is that I don't think it needs to take something like that, and I hope that it doesn't have to take something like that for people to allow themselves to engage with whatever kind of thing that they love, of course, have it not be hateful or offensive, to really dive into that and have that be part of their lives. And I know this sounds a little like, oh, okay, yeah, we get it. Love the things you love. But like, I'm so serious right now. I feel really strongly about this. I feel like it doesn't need to take some big moment for you to take joy in the craft, in the art, in the creative thing that you love so very much. And this could be for so many things. You could apply this to so many things because I think there's so many creative things out there, so many pursuits and endeavors that really bring a lot of joy to people's lives. And then there's a weird comparison thing that happens. That's like, oh, well, it's not this, so it's not that important. I don't care if you like the felt, what is it? The little felting fuzzy animal things. I don't care if you like making felt animals. If it's something that you love so much, I hope that you can pursue it. I hope that you let it take up space in your life in a really big way because doing this has changed my life. This is also coming from a standpoint that I did anything that I could throughout my entire time to have a job that was even close to makeup. I had a job one time where I was working at a very famous spa and they were like, oh, we'd love to have you as a makeup artist here. I was like, oh, that's great. I have the certification from a weird online source and I have a lot of self-taught, like I'm very self-taught. I can show you like my portfolio and all of these things that I was like, please let me prove my worth to you to be your makeup artist here. And I worked at the front desk. And that happened at a couple places. I would do anything to even be at the same job that had makeup in the same room. I wanted to be at that job. And I think what makes me kind of sad, honestly, about TikTok going away is losing that community. I have currently right now over 330,000 followers that I've organically built up. And if I may for a minute just flex slightly, I have had so many accounts. This was not an account that I told anyone about in my real life. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I will miss that community so much. I think a ban that limits our freedom of speech is horrendous, is disgusting, is so vile. And again, we could talk about that, how that's so categorically insane and wrong and scary. But what I want to talk about is the fact that this gave me a chance to do what I wanted to do in tiny ways. And I say in tiny ways because there were so many drafts that I did not post. Do I regret that? Slightly. But can I just take that and learn from it moving forward? Yes. I want to share more about my life. I want to share more about the things that I like. I want to share more about the makeup that I love. And I want to keep doing that. And I hope that I can for a very, 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 very long time until there is no more time, actually. But I think what it has showed me, other than the friendships and the love that it has given me in my life with these people that I feel like I'm like, it's unimaginable to think about the connections that I've made through an app because I just so happened to make an account in 2019 because I was really lonely and I was really sad and I really wanted a fresh start in any way that I could. And so that I went to TikTok and I didn't tell anyone about it. And this story has been so mirrored with so many creators. I hear so many people saying kind of the same or similar things, similar sentiments. But to watch people really get into what they love, I don't care if it's comedy, I don't care what it is, but like to see people get really excited about the things that they love, the niche kind of thing or the broad, topics, whatever it may be. I really have enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed watching people love things. And I think it's either, if you don't know what that is now, I hope that you have fun exploring things in life if you can and you are able to. That's a whole other thing. But like, there's something really special about the connections of humans and, the fighting for this app that has brought us so much fun and so much information and so much, tips and tricks on things that I wouldn't have known if a random person hadn't shown me how to like freaking, I don't know, replace a light in a stove or something like this, like some basic task that like has been displayed to me in such a human, normal, nice way. It's not condescending. It's not in a weird, malicious type of like, oh, you're stupid if you don't know this kind of way. It's just absolutely delightful. It really is. I think it was Zach, and I can't remember his full username, but I will leave it in the description, said a similar thing about like, I wanted to make people laugh. I wanted to make people giggle. And I did these stupid little skits and like, or I don't know if he said stupid little skits, but like, he was like, I was just being like silly online and now I'm going on tour. And you know what? TikTok was a wild ride and it brought me so much in my life and I'm really thankful for it. And as I sit here right now, as I'm recording this right now, we still have TikTok. And I don't know if by the 19th we will still have it anymore, but I am really, really, really thankful for what it's brought me in my life. But I'm really excited for the me that it's brought me. And I don't think that that's bad or narcissistic to think. I'm really happy that it's shown me and let me be me and figure that out and continue to figure that out, because I do think you do that your whole life. I think there are a lot of core fundamental things, of course, but like, I think I was living in such a like shallow kind of existence, and it just, I don't know, it's brought me a lot of joy. And to really unapologetically love like and get excited about makeup, which hilariously, like, I know sometimes people are like, okay, it's makeup. Those people don't get it. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I honestly don't care if pigments in a pan make me feel like life is worth living. I don't care. I don't care if a lipstick can boost my mood like you wouldn't believe. I don't care that looking at swatches of colorful things online, makeup, lipsticks, pigments, glitters, I don't care. If I'm looking at swatches and my brain's going bzzz, and I'm feeling the galaxies and it feels like electricity, I don't care. I used to be so ashamed of that, and it feels like such a disservice to past me and to present me and to future me to have made myself feel bad about that. And I know that makeup is not going to mean the same thing for everybody. Of course, probably. It'd be kind of cool if it did though, and we could all share and be excited and be woo, but that would probably be overwhelming as well. But I really do love the way that I love it. And I think I've said it a million times, and I'll probably say it a million more. I think it is a bit much for people, but I don't really care about what other people think, and not in a negative and mean way. It's just like, why would I care? This isn't their life. I think too, when I started to have that shift in my mind about not caring about other people's opinions, there was a people pleasing part of me that was like, oh, but I've let people down. But I've let me down entirely. And whose life am I living? Not theirs, mine. I have seen my friends who really love me, for who I am and for what I love and for how I show up and how I've been all the way. They have been there. And hilariously enough, the more me that I am, the more of those people seem to show up in my life. The less I care about opinions of those who literally don't care about me, the more people who care showed up. It was almost freaky. Like there are very distinct times in my life when I'm like, you know what, forget this. I have to, cut ties with this person. I have to leave this. I have to shed this skin of this part of my life. It's made me sick. It's taken me to the edge. It's done. It's over. There's nothing else I can do. I've given up I've not given up. I've just reached, the end of a chapter. And like magic, people walk into my life. And some of the people that have absolutely enriched my life beyond words have shown up at times that I'm like, okay, what's this about? Okay, well, what's this about? And I think it's just interesting. It's just interesting that sometimes when you think that there's nothing else, that you cannot further take another step, you cannot do one more, there's nothing else, there's nothing like that. And when you let that go, when you let that out of your space, something joins in, whatever that may be. And I don't know. The universe works in mysterious ways, okay? And I think, people have faith in things like that. And I think, faith probably has a lot to do with it. But just speaking from these are the facts, that's kind of the pattern that's been in my life. And it's been really interesting. And again, it's usually people who unapologetically love something. It usually is. And it's so delightful to hear them talk about it. It is damn near addicting to hear my friends talk about the shit that they love. Oh my God, dude. I literally sometimes I'm like, well, just tell me about it. I have no idea what you're saying to me. If you're in a field that I quite literally don't understand, but you're stoked on it and let me hear it, bud. Dude, let me hear it. Go off. I had a friend the other day. You know what? I'll call them out too. Sav. Trevor, if you're watching this, I will tag Trevor. I need to keep track of who all I'm talking about here. But my friend Trevor was like, oh my God, wait, what's going on with that? Tell me all about it. Completely unrelated to the video game that we were playing, I'll be honest. And this was offline, so this wasn't on a stream or something, because I had to rant. I had to pop off. But my friend, who has no details other than the fact that that's bestie and does not know the situation, does not know whatever it may be, was so invested. And that made me feel so nice. And I don't think I'm used to that kind of reaction from people, I'll be honest, but it was so delightful. It was so lovely. It was so nice. Because I was like, oh, okay, well, no, it's not a big deal. And he was like, no, tell me. And then would interject and be like, what? That's crazy. Or oh my God. Or and really felt invested and really cared. And I just think it's nice. I think it's nice to care. You can watch someone's body language and their eyes and the way that they carry themselves change in instant. Have you ever asked your friend about something niche that they're interested in? First of all, you should have. You should ask your friends what they're interested in. Hello. But watching them talk about it, watching them get into it, that's a hell of a drug. So that's really what I wanted to talk about today, honestly. People just loving themselves and loving the thing that they're interested in and letting that ebb and flow. And, maybe it changes in their life, but usually it's a pretty core thing that they've loved for a very long time. There are certain things like that, whether it be video games and makeup and, what have you in my life, that I'm like, yeah, damn, I have really always cared about this. And I think it's really cool because it feels like something that can never leave me. And that's really delightful. Makeup will always be here. I hope. Video games will probably always be here, maybe in different forms, but it's just these kind of material type things that bleed into the bigger picture of letting yourself be passionate, letting yourself love yourself, really taking up space in your life. And honestly, I know people are like, oh, main character energy, and that got a little nauseating at some point, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think being number one in your own life is not wrong. I think we're just told that. I think we're told to without quoting too much of the Barbie movie, honestly, we're told to be small, to not be loud, to not be too obnoxious, to not be dramatic, to not blah, blah. And it's enough, enough. I want to be loud. I am dramatic. I am quite bold at times. And I like to take up space in my own plot. Hello. I don't know if any of this will resonate with anyone, but I do hope that maybe if it did, that I invite you to shift your mindset with this. If you have been in this space where it's felt dark, it's felt too heavy, it's felt too much, you feel too self-obsessed, I don't think there's anything wrong with loving ourselves. I really don't. Now, when you get into actual narcissism, which I mean textbook narcissism, not people just throwing around that term, that's a scary place. Those are scary people. Those are dangerous, hurtful, harmful individuals. That's not what I'm talking about. The simple essence of really just loving you, loving what you do, loving your little craft. I don't care if it's for 5 minutes. I don't care if it's for 50 years. Really getting into the stuff that you enjoy, because otherwise, what's the point? What is the point? Not to go back to the band too, but part of me is just that's 5 years, over 5 years of my life on an app sharing things, sharing most of the time surface things. What is the point of that? interesting to think about. And I know it's not chasing a number. It's not chasing a reaction. It's not chasing other individuals. And that has been very refreshing to kind of realize. It's not about the app at all. I will be me everywhere else. I used to hate the whole saying because it usually is about recovery and stuff like that. And it's like wherever you go, there you are. But in a positive way, wherever I go, there I am. And I'm starting to really like me. So that's good news. I think it's normal to have your days, to have your moments, to just be like, oh, what the is going on? I'm feeling weird and I'm just feeling weird. And that might be how it is. And, the mental illness of it all or whatever it may be for me personally. But I think it's really, really opened my eyes in a kind of weirdly profound way. So TikTok, I thank you. Not that TikTok is listening, but to the ether and to you all, if you were on TikTok, if you engaged with me in any way, thank you so much. Thank you for making it a wild ride. And I don't know what will happen. I really don't, especially right at this moment. Weird, it's 444 right now on the 14th. Ooh, it's a special day today too. But anyway, I hope that made sense. And I hope that maybe you get excited about people sharing their passions too, because it's really quite fun. And I'll say, if you're someone who doesn't like when people talk about their passions, I think you might be a little evil. I think those people out there that are like, ugh, they're talking about this again. I think that person's probably very unhappy. And I hope that they find joy in something, and quickly, because otherwise they will just ruin everyone else's day. But to end on a high note, I think for as much of the time and the things that have left me feeling hopeless, sometimes, again, without being like positively, like toxic positivity kind of vibes, without that, it's exciting to not know what you're gonna do next. It's horrifying. It's very scary. It's very unstable. I don't recommend. But what's that quote from Robin Williams in the Night of the Museum? That show? That movie? That show? What am I, 90? But it's like, I don't know what my next adventure is. And he's like, oh, how exciting. I don't know, man. I need a mindset shift as well sometimes. And sometimes it takes a minute to be like, well, hold on. Now, okay, wait, let me take a breath. Good God. It's that viral sound. That's not fair. I need to calm down. I'm an adult. Everything's okay. Or however it goes. I need to tag that person too. But anyway, I hope that you liked this episode. Maybe if something resonated with you, or, what have you, if you have a comment to make, I would love to hear. Please leave me a comment down below. I love chatting with you all about this stuff. And I just love this podcast so very much. So thank you for showing up for the CQ, and share this with a friend. If you have a friend that maybe needs to hear this, send this to them. If you want to give this video a thumbs up too, I would appreciate it. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you here. And as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. And I will catch you in the next episode. Bye. This makeup is so cute. Just have to say. Okay. Bye.